Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussions on a variety of animated shows, movies, and anime, currently featuring Steven Universe, Gravity Falls, Miraculous Ladybug, and RWBY. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Delaney Stovall.
Hello.
Today, Delaney and I will be discussing the latest episode of RWBY PvP, which I think actually is the title, and I think which might be the worst episode title I've ever seen.
So I think the worst episode title of anything ever.
Yeah, I think this actually might be the worst ever.
like in the history, and this is like including Korra Book 2 episode titles.
Yeah,
this is the worst.
This is like the thing that the fans would nickname the episode, but it's actually the name of the episode. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else it would be, but yeah, we'll be.
I'm just so deeply offended.
This is the 8th, 7th. I don't know.
8. Last week's was 7th.
We have 3 more, right? No, or there's 4 more. I don't know.
I'll
look this up as we go. Next week is World of Remnant, I think. We'll talk about that at the end. We cover RWBY every week here on the Overly Animated Podcast, and you can find out more about our podcast at overlyanimated.com. Spoilers for this episode and all of RWBY. I'm especially emphasizing that today. Spoilers. Because things finally, this wouldn't have mattered for like the previous... like
4
episodes, yeah.
Yeah, all of them.
But this one actually has spoilers, so let's...
Super spoilers.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, 3 more. This is 9, 3 more after this, yeah, with a World of Remnant next week. Let's get right into PvP. So, okay, instead of what did you think, here's my question. What's like the top story here? Is it Rip Penny, or is it the villain's plan is actually in motion here?
I mean... For me, like, the most unexpected thing is Rip Penny. I didn't think that was their plan. Like, because we thought they were gonna like use Penny and like destroy stuff. Like, I don't think
did we say Penny might die? I don't remember.
I don't remember anticipating her dying. Like, yeah. I mean, I don't think we necessarily said she was safe or anything, but I had no anticipation that she would die.
What was your reaction to Penny getting torn apart here in this episode?
Like, just complete shock. Like, I was like, no way. And then, like, I mean, I didn't cry or anything, but, like, I did, like, gasp and, like, freak out a little bit. And it was worse when RWBY came out. And I was like, my child, no. My child is sad.
Yeah.
Honestly, I had a bit more of a, like, I had more of a concerned reaction when RWBY got kicked. Like, than, like, I was more shocked with Penny. Like, just, it was utter shock. No. It's very similar, like, last time, like, with Yang. Like, it's very similar, like, just the utter shock of it happening. But I was more, like, concerned, like, upset when RWBY got kicked.
Wow.
Like, when she's spiraling. It was...
Pretty cold there.
Hello, RWBY, my child.
I mean, yeah, but like it's Penny. Like everyone.
No, I mean, Penny. I love Penny. It was just more shock, I think, at first, like just how like that it happened. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, the episode presents it interestingly. Like you know before it happens, like what's about to happen, and then it's like, are they actually showing this? Like they do weird angles. So
well, like the angle, the most interesting angle was of course like in the middle of Penny, and it was like, why did you do this?
Yeah, it was some interesting directorial choices there. I was very the first time I watched this, I was very upset at that. I'm connected. I feel a lot for Penny, and she's one of my favorites, and that was pretty devastating. Like it's been, I saw it 24 hours ago, so I've had time to recover before. Like if I don't sound sad, that's why. But
I watched it like literally just now twice,
so that explains the differences. But yeah, so it was pretty devastating, and I was displeased with this, and I'm sad. I did not cry, but I'm upset.
You don't have to cry to be upset. I was just curious.
That being said, we have to have Penny died asterisk here, and I haven't seen any talk of this yet, but let's be clear. Penny is an artificial intelligence, and these types of things can transcend one body.
Yeah.
So
we could theoretically have Penny 2.0.
So like if what's his face Ironwood has a second Penny body, and Penny's consciousness was saved in the cloud, like then you can just upload it to the second Penny body. It actually seems like that's what's gonna happen. Like I'd be surprised if she stayed dead.
Yeah, because that would be like, especially we had that one scene where the guy like he like gripped his seat. So like I feel like, and you wouldn't if you created something like Penny, you would have a
You
backup.
would have a
Like you would.
backup, right? There's no way that I don't see the point of. I mean, I like that. I think Penny, the point of them doing this to Penny, like makes sense. I'm
Yeah.
bad on us for not speculating it more. I think we may have mentioned it. I don't know, but like it makes sense for the
Well, we
villain's
were more.
plan.
We thought it was more that they were going to because they kind of we thought they had hacked Penny and they were gonna
Yeah,
like
yeah,
use Penny.
yeah. But they did. But like they did use Penny, ultimately,
Yeah.
just differently than we thought, right?
Yeah.
So this makes sense to get the plan in motion, and it makes sense to have Ruby react to it. But then you can still bring Penny back. Like Penny doesn't need to
Yeah.
stay dead to accomplish those two things.
No. We just have to have the immediate shock, and then of course it actually makes more sense for there to be another Penny because I don't think we really talked about it or thought about it too much when like just thinking about it about this whole army situation. He is create like Penny is the mark of a synthetic army that looks like hunters and huntresses. So it would like that whole plot point, even though we're still not 100% sure if Cinder like actually believes everything she says or she's just saying crap to get what she wants. But that could mean like if they have an entire army like Penny, that would make sense.
She's absolutely just saying crap, but there might be more pennies. I agree.
Well, I feel like I don't mean like, and by pennies, I don't necessarily mean they literally all look like Penny, but like, and that makes a lot of sense actually to have like a synthetic army of hunters and huntresses.
That
Like
being
that.
said, my impression with Penny, and I don't remember if this is supported by what the episodes have said, but my impression was always that Penny was like the test case.
See,
So
that's what I
yeah,
thought.
so like I wouldn't expect him to have a lot more pennies made right now. I thought the
But
penny was the test.
but by that same token, like we wouldn't know if that makes
We
sense. Like
wouldn't
they
it,
like
that could yeah. I think that I
like it wouldn't bother me if all of a sudden there were a ton of them. I don't mean like okay, there shouldn't be like an entire army, but it wouldn't shock me if we would see a few more. Like I'd be like okay,
yeah, I
this is
agree
all
with that.
right.
Yeah, they're just I don't think that the show has like put us in a place where there could just be a giant army, but I agree there could be more. Here's a question: when we get Penny back to life, will she have a new robot body, or will she be look the same?
I feel like for the sake of Ruby, she has to have a new robot body, and then like have to explain it to Ruby. Which is
And then like Ruby has to get used to it, and then it's overcoming that struggle for the nuts and bolts love.
yes,
Yeah, exactly.
and it's a good storytelling device too, in like having that explained to the audience.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to see.
Even though it's not really that hard, but
Also if like Penny's like, because she like looks super innocent and like she's super innocent, and if she suddenly had like a hardcore body, and then like
no, I was about to say that.
yeah,
What if she had just like a super like we get like Yang robot or
yeah,
something?
like yeah, exactly, like
That'd be
tough
awesome.
and or like appealing, right? Like that type of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
anything.
it would be, and Ruby's reaction
Maybe
to
she
that.
ends up, or maybe she ends up like looking kind of like Pyrrha.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Pierre is similar, I guess. To it. What was this the best nuts and bolts Ruby and Penny episode of the series? Like the most
Yes,
substantial one?
unfortunately, yes.
I don't know.
Because Ruby cried.
There's some good ones in season
There are some
one,
good ones.
but
This is true.
I feel like this is like one of the most supported ships now, like by far.
This is like now in the top three.
Also, a slight monochrome in this episode, for sure.
I'm telling you, it's happening.
Yeah,
Like the monochrome is real at this
no,
point.
I reject it. It's not happening, but that's okay.
I mean, hello. Where's my ship? But like,
That's not an
sometimes
option.
you have to make sacrifices.
Ladybug, not an option, but
Just
yeah.
make sacrifices to have the gay. It just happens.
That's the new slogan of Ruby, right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. The second big story is the villain's plan finally coming into motion here, and you know what PvP is as an episode? It's very actually blanking on the core episode name off the top of my head, but it's the one before the two-part finale in book one.
Oh, whatever that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that it's very similar to that. It's like the plan finally goes
Yeah.
in motion, and it's like a bunch of stuff just happens sequentially.
Yeah. Just bunch of stuff.
Yeah. So like we see the villain's plan happening, turning the tides is the one. It has a similar death, right? You know, we have
Yes.
so it's a very similar episode. What do we? So there's a lot of stuff that happens at the end of this episode. My here's the thing for PvP. My initial viewing, I've seen it 3 times now. My initial viewing was much different than my previous 2 viewings. Like initially, I was very emotional watching it. I was trying to understand what was happening, and it was very intense, and I really liked it. And then my next 2 viewings, Like it's I like you can anticipate, you know what's going to happen, so you can like see
Yeah.
the logic behind everything and like the lack of logic behind everything.
Yeah.
And it's
And I think it does have to be said, like, obviously, when you use something like shock value, it only works once.
this episode is supposed to be seen the first time. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
it's
But
supposed to just be shock value, but
like I
yeah.
think ultimately this is a good episode. Like I think that's three good
Yeah.
episodes in a row for RWBY. That being said, like if you take a deep dive into the episode like we're about to, there's a lot of flaws, and I don't think it's like very
Yeah.
good. But like it's good. It's good for what it functions as, but narrative wise, it's kind of rough at some points.
Which is why, and it operates exactly like turning the tides.
Yeah, I also think that episode's not the strongest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so the villain's plan here. Okay, so we've been saying what's gonna happen, what's gonna happen. Here we finally see stuff happen. What was your initial reaction? Are you like satisfied by what happens here in terms of stuff that's finally? I mean, there's a lot that happens. Like we break what's his face out. We have the Grim attacking. We bring in Adam. Like everything.
I was surprised we broke Roman out.
Yeah.
That did surprise me because I was like, I didn't realize he was important enough to break out. Like, I didn't realize we. Also,
Wow,
why was he
rude.
on a ship? Why
Was
was
he
he?
was he
Why was
always
he?
on a ship? I don't remember.
I thought. I mean, he could have been on a ship at the time. I don't really remember, but like, why was he on? Why would you like? That
I
makes
think he
so.
I think
That's
he always
so.
was. I think like where else would he be stored? Yeah.
But like, that's such a dumb. Like, that's the dumbest idea. Why?
I mean,
Like,
whatever.
what? But like, it doesn't matter. But okay, I'm just an idiot. I didn't realize that like they're the white fang, right? What's their name?
Yeah,
Is that it?
the white
The
fang.
white
Yeah.
fang. Okay. Their masks, I did not realize they were like grim masks. Like I hadn't processed that until today because I'm dumb.
Okay, well, what's the relevance of that though?
That's my thing though. Like what? Why? And then now are they controlling Grim? Like how do they do that? They put them on a ship. Like what?
They just transported them, and now that they're all upset, then now it's like easier access to the city. I guess it's
Just
yeah, it's weird that they like just had Grim
what?
on their ship.
Like, and then it's even weirder because of their masks. Like
I don't know. I didn't really care about the masks thing.
I don't
But
know. I just literally made that connection today, which obviously somebody is going to comment and be like, "Oh my god!" But yes, I just noticed today because I hadn't made the connect. And in my defense, we've seen the white thing like 3 times.
yeah, no, we haven't seen them in quite a
I
while.
just, I don't know. Like I wasn't completely like. I'm satisfied that something happened, but in general, like, I don't know. Like, it was just a lot of the stuff that happened was weird, and like you said, and we're going to talk about a lot of it. Doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, having Cinder's like monologue was great, except like we literally still have zero information. But I don't know.
I think ultimately the plan that we see unfold here is very representative of like the problems of this season. It's like they spend so much time building up to what happens here and what's going to happen in a subsequent, quote unquote 3-part
Yeah,
finale or whatever, that it has to just be really good and make a lot of sense with what we've seen. And ultimately, this is just a lot of sequential elements of the show that we're just bringing back one after another. And none of them really are that satisfying. And it's just pretty disappointing. Like Cinder's speech, while I think interestingly presented, the substance of what she's saying is just super uninteresting. The Grim
it's
attack,
also hard to take. Like we don't believe her. Like we know she has like ulterior motives.
all of what she's saying is not true. So
Yeah,
like, there's that element. It's like it'd be much more. It's like when Amon's tying back to book one of Korra, because I think that's a really good analog to the season.
yeah,
When Amon speaks, it's interesting because at least initially we thought he like believed what he said, right? Like, and
yeah,
for a long time, and he ultimately does. So, and like what he's saying, like, is kind of true based on the circumstances we've seen. What
yeah,
Cinder's saying is just completely manufactured by her small group of villains.
yeah. Because they created everything.
Everything, right? And
Like, everything that happened, they made it happen.
and like this is like tying together a bunch of elements from the past 2 seasons, maybe even 3 seasons, and that's cool. Like that we're finally seeing like the stuff from season one pay off, but it's the logic tying it all together is not really there, and also even though it's just bringing back setup we've seen, it still doesn't make the like there's no ideology behind what she's saying. It's like we're going to revolt against the headmasters. We just learned that the headmasters like are in charge, really. Like it's not something
Yeah,
that we care about. There's no sense that her cause is justified. It seems like she's completely manufacturing everything. So
yeah.
it's
It's like
just
you
really
don't buy. villain.
it's just really uninteresting to me. Like the Cinder, I think Cinder is really failing right now as being
Well,
our head villain.
it's like I think Cinder and Azula are very similar in like their attitudes, but the thing is like Azula goes crazy, and you kind of like you feel bad for Azula, and then you understand Azula. Like we understand where Azula comes from. Like we understand Azula, and like and it's like there's more, and of course there's like the whole other dynamics with Azula that make you care a little bit more. I've always
Azula has backstory. She has more interesting
Yep.
characterization, and she's also the plot never hinges on her as much as
No,
it's this it does the Ruby book or through season 3 does for Cinder right now.
and
Uh,
then like everything Cinder says, it's like okay, you're just like we don't care.
and
Like you're just like she's just the static villain.
like initially, I was really resistant to the idea of there being like a big bad behind Cinder because I think that just delegitimizes a lot of the setup that they've done. But at this point, I think that we've kind of seen all that they're going to throw at us with Cinder. I mean, we'll see the last 3 episodes, but
Well, I think
it's
this is all a ploy, which I'm actually afraid of, is that this is really just all a ploy to get the Fall Maiden. Like, I feel like they're just going to which is going to be dumb because they literally infiltrated Beacon. But like, that's what when I was watching this episode, I was like, that's what they're going for, and this is going to suck.
well, let's talk about
I mean,
that.
I could be
So,
wrong.
you're right. What's the aim here? Because initially, I don't know what first viewing. I'm like, okay, I don't know what the aim is. Right? It's
For
just
causing
chaos.
chaos.
But
Like,
then
okay,
subsequent viewings, it does seem like this is the total war that they've been building up to. Like, it seems like at least the episode on the surface is presenting this as, like it's the White Fang and Grimm and our villain group versus like everyone else now in the city, right? It seems
yeah,
like that's what the end of the episode presents us with as the situation.
yes.
But
But
like,
then, and
what's
then,
the point of that? What are they
well, for
aiming to
me,
do?
like the key scene is Ozpin, Crew, and Glinda, and he's like, Crow. Why did I say Crew? He goes, and he's like, go to the city. And Crow says, but, and then they have to leave. I feel like they're
Oh,
leaving like the Fall Maiden unprotected, and that's which I'm gonna be really annoyed if that's what they're doing because like really we have to have all out war to break into this place when you infiltrated Beacon. But
so yeah, you're saying that Crow was gonna say, but we have to stay and protect the Fall
yeah,
Maiden. Okay, so if that's true, which kind of makes sense, I didn't think of that in my 3 viewings, but if that's what's happening here, I think we're back on Ozpin as target number 1 for
yeah,
the main villain because he sends them away.
it's true.
But that being said, Osmond really never had a chance before this to just take.
Yeah,
I mean, he's in charge. So I like on one hand, this episode definitely makes it seem like Osmond and Ironwood are not involved because Cinder taunts them. Um,
yeah,
and I feel like that was my initial reaction was like, who's left to be the big bad here? But at the same time, Osmond, there's a lot of focus on Osmond in his office, and we don't really know why. This episode doesn't
right.
tell us why we're seeing Osmond watch the match. We're seeing him send them away. Like there's some questions here with Osmond for sure.
Yeah, like why do we care that he's watching?
Yeah. And I think that's going to pay off in the last 3 episodes. Like I still think we're building up to the Osmond reveal probably. Um, so we have the Cinder speech, we have the falling out at the end, and then we have like the initial P versus P fights and everything involving that, which I think is like the strongest part of the episode is the first third. I mean,
Yes,
this is short, so this is like 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. So, but initially we have everything with Penny and Pyrrha, which I think is a great fight. Monty's credited as an animator. Something involving that, by the way, I saw talk of them. I forgot the word that they used on CO when they were talking about this, but reusing fight like sequences. It wasn't sequences, but from previous Rooster Teeth works. So maybe that's why Monty is credited because they're using like basic templates from previous fights that he worked on, which I think kind of makes sense. But
yeah.
so that might be what's going on here. Not necessarily that Monty was working on scenes this far in advance. I don't know, but it could be both. Could be either. I don't know. But I thought this fight was really strong.
Yeah, definitely. Like this was probably one of the most interesting fights we've had all season.
Like you have 2 interesting fighters. We see Penny fighting in like a way we haven't before, and then on top of that, you have the entire dynamic with Emerald influencing the fight while it's going. It's like the complete opposite of previous fights this season, which have had which are just like two characters we don't care about, like with with like sequences we don't care about. Here though, it's just it's just an interesting logic behind all of it. Yeah, and I just think it's really successful. Like I was seeing Penny fight with just all the knives is just super interesting.
And then
And then they like fire stuff, and then we see Pyrrha basically metal bending.
oh yeah,
Except it's like magnet bending, except it's her Semblance, obviously.
yeah.
And yeah, I just the dynamic super great.
And also watching like Emerald like because we actually watched her work this episode, like how it
When we get
like how
close-ups of her face and her like intensely focusing.
yes, and then like well also like her the effects of what she was doing, like the whole like thing with like her sword and like how it like was a process throughout the fight. It wasn't just that one moment.
Okay. Yeah, I know I know what shot you're talking about. It's interesting. I wonder if that was Emerald's illusion coming into play, or us just, or that was just them showing Pyrrha's powers at work and setting up for the what's to come.
Well, it could have been. I mean, I
Like
don't know.
it's a little ambiguous because we haven't seen
Like the
Pyrrha's semblance like in
like the
action.
first time I watched it, I didn't even really notice Emerald until like obviously until the end. But like I knew Emerald was doing like her thing. But like the second time, I paid a bit more attention to it.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I think it's probably both factors at play, and I think it was good that how they set up Pyrrha's because Pyrrha's semblance was vital here, obviously, and
yeah,
I think they recognized that even though this is one of the better presented semblances in the show because she like talks about it with John and stuff, like even like or maybe I don't remember what scene it was, but that I think they recognize that semblances aren't super clear, so like they set it up last episode and the beginning of this episode. So like
yeah,
I think it works very well.
yeah, it does.
Um, yeah, and seeing her and like I think it also just makes a ton of sense. Her increasing the knives like that, that's just such a great shot. Like the like thousands of penny knives,
Yeah,
like and then Pyrrha, it just having to metal bend them away, right? Into metal
yeah.
bending Penny apart at the same time. Um, pretty like brutal, well presented. I think it's one of the best scenes of the show.
Well,
In
she
general.
didn't like metal bend her apart, but
Yeah, she did.
no, it was the strings on her knives. Like she pushed it back, and because it's attached to Penny, the strings broke her apart.
Hmm.
Because
I don't know
she
if
threw
that's
the
what it was going
knives.
for. I don't know.
Well, that's what happened. Like if you watch it, it's the strings. Because I didn't notice it at first, but the knives are attached to Penny through strings, like it's attached to her back.
Strings.
No, I'm
I
serious.
would presume metal like things.
No, there's strings like, and she fires the knives, and then Pyrrha does her thing, and the knives fly backwards. And what it looked like was there were string like there's one shot of the strings wrapping around Penny, and they squeeze,
Yeah,
and those the
that's
strings.
true. That does happen.
So the strings tear her apart because it's the force of the knives that tear her apart.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
Because it makes sense because Penny doesn't actually have a semblance. She's a robot. So
yeah.
that's how the knives work, and you can't really tell their strings because how fast they are. But they actually paid more attention like their strings.
Yeah, and more importantly, maybe also importantly, she also doesn't have an aura, I guess, which is what they're
Yeah.
going for, which is why she's able to like die from this. I
Yep.
wonder how her aura worked. Maybe maybe she did have an aura, but it just didn't matter because she probably had a life total on the screen. So I'm wondering how that worked.
Yeah.
We saw a previous Penny fight, so maybe it was
Well,
answered
it's
there.
interesting because like aura is clearly like measurable, like you can quantify it, but then like you wouldn't think you can, but they do.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean it makes no sense, but especially for her. And why can't an artificial intelligence just have a normal aura? Why can't you like program an aura? Maybe they can.
yeah,
Maybe they did with Penny. A lot of questions. Anyway, the Pyrrha overexerting based off it's the same whether it's like literally the string, which I
yeah.
agree that's what they show. Um, I'm trying to like think of what type of material makes sense for connecting her weapons to herself. Some sort of
Yeah.
metal bending cop, that type of thing,
Yeah.
right? The thing
I'm
that they
sure it's
fire
some
out.
sort of like it's a cable. Like it's not just like string. Like
Yeah,
it's some sort of
a metal
cable.
cable.
Because
That's what I would.
that's the only thing that can like break through
Mhm.
that would be able to like shred Penny the way it did.
Yeah.
Like
Anyway,
it had to be a strong, but it's also really thin, which would also
yeah.
like
So this scene was great. That being said, during all of this, we had a super weak scene with Ruby and Mercury.
what was
Um,
the point of that?
let's talk the logic behind this because Mercury just lets Ruby go and does not care
Like was it
after Penny happens.
like he just had to like stall her for, but then like why? Like
So
Ruby
this makes
wasn't doing
absolutely it
anything.
makes no sense because Mercury's obviously working independently here. Two, why does he? This is like the suspenseful thing at the end of last episode, and I hate when those type of things never pay off. And like, it just he doesn't do anything. He Ruby does her thing at him, and then he like is fast enough to kick her away, which questionable. But I guess
Yeah, that didn't
Mercury's
that really didn't make a lot of sense to me. It was like him actually being able to hit Ruby.
I
Like what?
guess Mercury's that fast. I don't know. Um, but yeah, just why did Mercury even why didn't he just hide? Why did he show himself to Ruby in the first place? I don't think we get an answer to that.
Like it doesn't like I mean, I guess it's because it's like the final moments, like they already won, but it still doesn't make any sense.
If the logic is like to keep her occupied, no, he wasn't really even doing that. And
No.
who cares? She could have been watching and she couldn't have done anything, so it doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, the whole thing doesn't make any sense anyway because the fight went on a lot longer than it probably took Ruby to get to the end of the hall because she wasn't that far in the hall.
Yeah. I
Like,
just I kind of hated all of the Mercury stuff here. I thought we were sending Mercury away for the rest of the season. That was a good decision.
yeah,
Let's hold to that.
yeah, let's keep that up.
Cinder's speech. So there's a lot of stuff here. Is there anything substantial? She's this is what happens when you hand over your trust to the guardian to the men that came to be guardian. She's like directly calling out the group that we've had established as being in charge. Headmasters calls out Iron One, calls out Ozpin. We have we referenced the end of last season and which I guess ties that into things like her holding that over their heads, even though it
Yeah,
doesn't really make sense. Um, like we reference the conflict between Ozpin and Ironwood. It seems it's for a second it seems like she's trying to incite them to fight, which I thought made more sense. But then Ozpin didn't fall for it at the end too.
yeah,
She claims to be from Mistral. I think that's new
yeah.
information.
Because and of course, but we don't know. She could be lying.
She's
I'm
none
assuming
of
she's not.
everything she's saying is not true, right? So I don't.
Yeah,
There's
so like we don't know.
including stuff like that is like a failure to understand like that your character has no legitimacy. I think, like I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Citizens.
Also, why would we care? Like, why does it
I don't
matter?
think it matters. Yeah. When the first shots are fired, who do you think you can trust? She says. So
Which, like, that's a really interesting statement, and like, normally that would be a really interesting and like, oh man, she said that, drop the mic. But it's like, is she trying to present herself as someone we can trust? Because the audience can, and then also like, all they see is like this red like chess piece. It's the Red Queen,
So that's the
right?
thing. So Aban was trying to draw followers to his cause. It doesn't seem like Cinder is trying to gain supporters. So what is her goal? Is her goal to
Like,
just cause chaos? Is her goal to position the White Fang to take over? Like, what's the end game here? That's the thing.
there's no like, who can you trust? Well,
You can't trust
you,
you because we don't see you. Yeah, it's
we don't know who you are, and then like what it just makes there's nothing like honestly her speech there is nothing of substance in the speech like there is nothing it just she just talks
it's like kind of
it doesn't
interestingly
matter.
presented, and it's one of
I was surprised that she actually like I'm surprised we had this speech.
yeah, I thought it was good. It was like one of Jessica Negri's like stronger moments as Cinder, and
Yes.
like it's well everything after the writing of it I think is very well done, but like
Yeah.
the substance is not really there, and it's representative of the lack of logic of the and not representative and a large component of the lack of logic at the end of this episode.
And
Um,
just of the end of the season as a whole.
Also this season. So then we have the Grim Attack. We have actually a part I really liked was the giant Nevermore comes on top of
Yes.
the arena. Nevermore's my favorite Grim. I loved the it like callback to the Emerald Forest. Like the best scene of the
Yes.
show. So just having an Evermore
Yeah.
again was great. I really liked that.
And then the exchange was interesting
What's the exchange?
about the Nevermore, where they were like, "A Nevermore, how to get past the city's defenses?" And then Ren's like, "It had help,
Yeah.
or it
Also,
didn't do it alone."
Ren sitting next to like completely different people he was sitting next to previously in that scene.
Right?
I don't understand that,
Like, because
um,
Ren got up and moved.
yeah. So just I guess he did. Like get away from. He got away
I wish Nora.
from Nora. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah. So it's like the Grim stuff here is like the Nevermore is strong, but just the Grim attack being the main component of the villain's plan. So one, it was well set up because we've talked several times about how negative emotions draw Grim, yada yada yada. We've had this set up several times throughout the show's course, but it's just really not satisfying in my opinion.
Well, the
Like,
thing is, like, when you have something like the Grimm in a show or a book or whatever, you like they're their own they're their own agent. They're their own thing to be afraid of because as far as we know, you can't control Grimm. That's why we're afraid of it. Like they're just these creatures of darkness that the hunters and huntresses have to fight. And they can't be controlled and they just like we just keep them out of the city and try to do our thing. But they're creatures, like you shouldn't be able to control them. Like as far like they're just like they're presented as wild animals. Like that's what they're presented as. And so then when you it's and then you introduce them in this kind of context and they're using them, it doesn't make a lot of sense because like as far as you know, they don't have any devices on them to control them. And like why like it just doesn't make a lot of sense to have something like this to have villains who have clearly very carefully orchestrated this entire event, have orchestrated this entire movement and change and power to leave it up to chance when you can't control the Grim.
yeah,
Like
yeah. I
also it's also kind of stupid given that okay, we're gonna have them attack the festival where all of the greatest fighters in the world are. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean that part's just like everyone's there, I guess.
but like, you know what I mean though? Like, it just
I know. I completely agree with the first. Yeah, the most of what you're saying. Yeah, like it's the Grimm are super satisfying as presented as like the dark side of this interesting Ruby world that we're presented with.
like the Grim on their own are fine because
Yeah,
they're
like
just
their
Grim.
role
You
in the
don't
show previously is fine, but having them be the key component of this meticulously set up Cinder plan, like we're seeing things from all three seasons pay off here, and just the Grim being such a key component, like and like the villains being able to control them in this way, being so essential to what we're seeing unfold, is incredibly unsatisfying when they're
it's like
previously presented as an independent threat.
it's honestly as if like you know we're seeing things pay off. It's almost like okay, we're gonna take all the villains, guys, and they're just gonna team up. Like that's a terrible idea. That'd be like being like, okay, we're gonna have Amon and like Unalak and Kuvira team up.
That
Like that
really
makes
no, that
no
really is
sense.
what's happening here.
That's literally what this is.
They're
It
trying
makes
to
no
pay off
sense.
literally everything that's happened in the show because the Grimm are like the Grimm have kind of been this ominous threat the entire time. I mean, you think of the elephants on the outskirts of the abandoned city and then the last season. It's like
Yeah.
when is that going to pay off? And I think now is not the time for that. Like
Well,
it's
I feel like the Grim can pay off on their own. You don't have to have some like person and like it's just the Grim. The Grim can like you don't like they've set up like the Grim just as a like thing as a concept. It operates beautifully on its own. You don't have to do anything to have the Grim do stuff. It's like zombies. You don't have to have some big bad to control zombies. Zombies are just there doing zombie stuff. Like you don't the Grim. You don't have to
on
like.
a
I don't
yeah,
understand the
I
need
agree.
to like.
On a super high level, the concept of the Cinder team harnessing all the evil and maliciousness within the world of Ruby that we've been presented, and then reversing that on the established power structure is like kind of an interesting concept.
Yes,
Um, but like, I'm not
like
convinced
they
that
have
they are in a position to harness all the evil in the world. They seem like such a small splinter group, and we haven't seen how they've been able to control the Grim other than like manipulating malintents, like in the
which
general populace. Like
that's the interesting thing. They've manipulated the situation. They have manipulated the public to give off like they have created this negative environment, and that's very interesting. But then it's like, why do we need the Grim? Like why? Like Because really, when you think about it, if you let it run its course, they wouldn't need them. Because you would think eventually the Grim would just.
The Grimm are just like representative of the general unrest within the general public, right?
Yeah.
Like
Oh my god.
it's like the only reason the Grimm would attack is if if like people would revolt on their own, right? As of now, and maybe they can turn this around in the last 3 episodes, but right
Like if the
now,
Grim turn on them or something, like
yeah, but then that'd be like, well, that'd be satisfying in that we're
late.
finally seeing this. Like the small group shouldn't be able to control things to this extent, and
Right.
then it would be satisfying to watch them fail.
Yeah,
Which
like
ultimately I think, like, okay, so what's going to happen at the end of the season? Because we know they're planning like 7 seasons, so obviously that they're not going to win here unless we're going to go like Cinder wins, and now we're having like Team Ruby revolts
dystopia.
in the new world. Like
Yeah.
they could do something like that.
Which that'd be interesting.
I don't think it would be a
Like,
good. I don't think it'd make for a good last 3 episodes, but like it would be
well,
an
it
interesting
would make
season
sense.
4.
Yeah,
Like,
like it wouldn't make sense, but it'd be interesting.
yeah. But like, so what's going to go wrong here, or is this not even the end of the plan? Like, I think a lot depends
I feel like
on how they're going to execute, like with the Grim, with the end of this.
I feel like the Grim have to be a distraction of some sort because like that's the best way they function. I mean, yes, the Grim will do all this destruction and they'll do all this damage, but you can't control them. It's like unleashing the Hulk. Like you can't control that.
Yeah, that's
So
a good
like
analogy. Yeah.
it's just mayhem. So like
And
I
as we
think
see in Avengers 2, that backfires when you when you can
yes,
unleash the Hulk, right? So
like I do think this is all, which I'm gonna be super annoyed if this is what it is. I do think this is all a ploy to like get the Fall Maiden
it's a ploy to
because
gain more power.
powers.
Yeah.
Yes, but like, but it makes sense for Cinder because we know there's this hunger and like she needs like the power calls to the power, like she has to have the rest of it. Like that makes sense. But then, and even then, it almost makes sense to like go to all these extremes to get it back.
They're
But then it's
starting
like
a
you
war.
infiltrated me.
Are they starting a war
Like
in order to get the Fall Maiden back? Because let's talk about the last part to the end of the episode. You have Neo breaking Roman out, them firing on other Atlas ships,
yeah,
and then Adam and White Fang coming with their own ships, bringing Grim. Like they are
yeah,
starting a war here. Is this all really to
yeah.
just break out the Fall Maiden? Like really?
Well, the only thing I can think of is like she will like if she gets the rest of the power, which obviously I think the alternative is Pyrrha, which I think this episode was indicated like Pyrrha's decision, like she's going to become the Fall Maiden or do whatever the heck they want
Yeah,
to do.
definitely. Yeah.
And then like if like I would think Cinder's plan would be to get the power and then become this like have the people look to her. Like she would get the power and then like I don't know, like kind of like some sort of syndrome nonsense. How many references can Delaney make in this podcast?
A lot. Yeah.
And like just I don't know, like do something that make like to show that she's the only one who can do anything. She's the only one who's in charge, and like have the people believe in her. Which, from a mythological standpoint, that makes a lot of sense. Like you become like this godlike being. Like she becomes the Avatar.
Yeah. So let me give you scenarios for the last 3 episodes. You give me a percentage chance that each one happens. So first, Cinder becomes the Dark Avatar.
Oh, okay. There's like me not wanting it, and there's also like the high percentage that it could happen.
I think it's like 70. Like I think that's where we're going.
Yeah,
Something like that.
like it's over 50, but it's not necessarily guaranteed.
Pyrrha ultimately decides to do the power swap. That's like close to 100, right?
No, it's 105%.
Okay, so then
That's
there's two possibilities. Either
whether
Pyrrha,
or not it succeeds, you don't know. But like
so Pyrrha
105%.
dies. I'm actually under 50 on Pyrrha dying. I'm like 35%.
Yeah, I feel like from a storytelling perspective, it would make a lot of sense. But then also like we have this like romance thing that like they're finally paying off. So like I feel like they're not going to kill
Yeah,
her.
that's a big reason why. So the second scenario is either we lose part of Pyrrha or we get a combined Pyrrha plus Amber.
Yeah.
I think that's like up towards 70%.
Well, I think we could lose Pyrrha, but she's not dead.
But like yeah, like
Like
she's like mentally she's like something really bad
yeah.
happens to her mentally. Like I think that's included in this
Like
option.
I feel like we'll just have like we'll have Pyrrha's body, but it won't be Pyrrha anymore.
Or okay, so potentially a full takeover of Pyrrha's
Yeah,
body.
that's actually what I think is. I think that's like that has like a really high percentage of it not being Pyrrha anymore. Because that'd
Yeah,
be
I
something.
mean, I don't want that to happen. They could do it. I think a split person would be more interesting, but then again, that's like kind of high concept. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know, just something involving something to set up the drama with John is what we're
Yes.
going to. Um, a person other than Pyrrha dying, Blake dying. I don't see the point of it anymore unless something with Adam
No.
happens.
I
Uh,
don't see any part. I don't see anyone in team like. I don't see anyone in Team Ruby dying.
yeah, I don't. As of now, I don't. Yeah, someone. So the villain's succeeding, the villain's failing. I mean, we don't know concept of how that would work.
Yeah.
So the big bad. Ironwood, I'm close to 0% on. It doesn't seem like it's Ironwood.
Yeah.
Like they would be a big surprise. Um,
Right.
where are you on Glinda?
I was more like we talked about it, and I was like, it'd make a lot more sense if Glinda was like the big bad.
Yeah,
I don't
I think
think
this
she
episode
is.
lowers the Glinda chance and raises the
Like, I
Ozpin
feel like
chance.
Glinda is just not a person, and
Yeah,
that's just what we have.
it would be
This just
it would
isn't.
be unsatisfying. So I think it's under 50. Crow, I think, is close to 0. Ozpin, I think,
Yeah.
is has a good shot. But that being said, like the whole point of this, if the whole point of this is to disrupt the Guardian's power structure, Ozpin is the leader of that. So
Yeah.
it would
So
be
like
kind of
him being like
unsatisfying for him to be the big bad.
unless there's like other things at play in which we could like it'd be interesting if we had someone like Ozpin turn out to be like have his own like agenda in like this case, but still like against like Cinder. Like that'd be interesting. And then also I feel like we have a new player in the game because of that person who was like when they after Penny we had the guy who like squeezed his chair. Like he's somewhere in Atlas apparently. He's like old dude, had a beard.
I don't know.
Like, but do you know what I'm talking about? That scene, like
Maybe.
that. I think that indicates like not that might not be something that's paid off this season, but maybe paid off later. Like he seemed like he was some important dude. Like I don't know. My guess is he's like Ironwood's father or like some sort of like scientist in Atlas, but we don't know. But, like he's a new player in the game. I don't know how he's involved.
I don't know about that. We'll see. Other things.
I feel
Ruby.
like a scene like that, you only use a scene like that to pay it off later. Like otherwise, because it doesn't mean
Well, other things I'm thinking of that could come into play. Ruby getting the Summer Maiden's powers or a Maiden's powers or discovering her own powers. I don't know if that's where we're going.
I think at this point that wouldn't be very satisfying. Like just from like a narrative perspective, it'd be like okay. I feel like we're not going to have any other maidens for a long while. Like I do feel like the show is going to turn into like mastering the four elements. Let's find all the maidens, but I don't feel like I don't like I think it's going to be a little bit though.
I don't know. I'm interested to see. I think something's Summer Rose being alive might be a thing too. Something I think we're doing something with the
Yeah.
Summer Maiden, but maybe not this season. You're right.
Yeah.
Thinking about it more, actually, I think Blake. There's some reason that Blake could die because they have specifically been setting up Blake's relationship with Adam the past 3 episodes.
Please don't kill Blake.
So
Please.
here's the argument. We had the flashback to Blake and Adam, and then last episode we have Blake again reference her like I've been scorned by Adam before, so that's why I don't trust anyone. So we might be setting up for a scene where like Adam like kills Blake. Like I think that that's something
Please
that would
don't.
make sense in the structure of the season.
Please don't.
I don't think that they're gonna do it, but that would make sense.
Like
Um,
it would make sense narratively, but it'd be like a terrible thing to do.
Well, yeah, but also a terrible thing to do would be like making a season of the show where you barely show your main characters, but they also did that.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's just true. But like, I just feel like, oh my, like if you kill Blake, it literally serves no purpose.
well, it serves the purpose that if you want Adam to be a big player, then it's like the latest Star Wars movie. Like you throw
Yeah.
like that type of thing. Yeah. So
Like, please don't kill Blake. Please, please.
it's
I don't think I could forgive this show if
by
they
her
killed Blake.
dying, it makes the villain more important who did it. Like that's what I mean by the Star Wars thing.
Well, I know, and that's why it makes me so frustrated because, like, okay, let's just murder, like, because that's something they do all the time in like shows. It's like, okay, this female character only exists to build up this male character.
Yeah, which
Like,
I
can
don't
we
think
please
was
not
the
do this?
intent of Blake, but
No, but
like
like,
originally.
but if they kill Blake like this,
Then it
that's
seems
all her
like it was, yeah.
that's all her character amounts to.
Yeah.
So like, killing Blake, I don't think I can forgive the show if they kill Blake in this way. Like, if they kill Blake later, I could maybe be okay with it, like narratively or like, whatever it does. But if they kill Blake in this way in this season, I will not forgive the show.
Here's more
I'll
evidence.
be bitter.
Here's more evidence. We've been setting Weiss up to have like emotions. That was like the beginning of the season, and
Is Winter gonna come back?
when oh yeah oh that's true. We'll talk about that. But here's the Blake Dang argument first. So we've been setting Weiss up to like emotionally react to things, and now we're seeing Weiss having an increased friendship with Blake. Like
Oh
we're
my
seeing,
God,
so
no.
maybe we're setting Weiss
No.
up to suffer.
This is
Like
the
that's a thing.
worst.
There's the
Please.
arguments. I'm telling you, it's.
I'm so against this happening.
I
It's
think that there is
intense.
a somewhat high chance. I think it's under.
Like,
I don't think they're gonna do it, but there's a chance.
if they kill Blake, I will literally be so mad. Like, I will not forgive the show. Like, it'll be season like whatever, and I'll be bitter about it. Like,
Yeah, they shouldn't do it because then you just like will be too devastated to podcast now. That
I will be. Like, it's not okay. Well, the thing is though, like, no matter how if they do it this way, I won't even be sad. I'll just be mad because there's no way for me to actually be upset. Like, I'll be upset about it because it's stupid,
if
not
they
because
like
it's
dedicate
sad.
all of the last 3 episodes to like Blake's death.
Like killing Blake.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm just so mad. Oh my god,
Winter
no.
coming back this season. And
And it really isn't just because I love Blake. It's because it would be the dumbest thing
the
to
show is
do.
yeah, but like also the show like constantly does something, so whatever.
I know, just
I mean,
please
it's not
don't
whatever,
kill
but
Blake.
like it would like I don't think it would be the dumbest thing the show has done.
Like for like, well, it. But my thing though is that like
It might
for
be the
Team
dumbest like single event, but like show
yeah,
overall does like
yeah. Overall,
more.
no, like single event, it would be the dumbest
Okay,
thing.
yeah, I could buy that. Winter coming back in the last 3 episodes. I kind of think that maybe they're just setting her up for future seasons.
I don't. But like, I mean, it would make a lot of sense.
Chances Winter's the big bad.
Bruh, that would be like insane.
I would love
But like,
it. I would love it.
no, it'd be amazing. Like, I would be so happy. I'd like at this point. I don't
Were
even
they
care.
setting this up because like we saw that Winter wasn't part of their internal Guardians discussions, and maybe she's bitter about that.
If Winter's the big bad, like A plus.
Yeah,
A plus.
I mean, not A plus because
But, like,
she's like a new season 3 character. So
yeah.
like,
Well, there's no way. I'm still not convinced that we know if there is a big bad if we know them.
it would be dumb if like we just get randomly revealed to like here's this old dude, but
Yeah.
um yeah. So I'm
But
interested
if
to see
you do
if they do
something
it.
dumb, like, oh my god, it's like
What's
wife's dad.
what's the point of breaking Roman out? Last thing. What's the point of breaking Roman out? What's he gonna do?
Okay, I know I said this and you laughed at me, but like honestly, I didn't know Roman was like important enough to break out.
Dude,
like,
he was
who
the main
cares?
villain in season 1.
In season 1 though. We're in season 3. Like, who cares?
So that's like
Also, Roman didn't
is
do anything.
is that like the
Like,
equivalent of Ozai specifically like resurrecting
Like,
Zhao in
no,
in the finale?
this is basically like Zombie Amon. Like, this is what this is. It's Zombie Amon. And like, it's so like, why?
I like Roman.
Like,
It's
I don't have a problem with Roman, but like, Roman as a villain, like, Roman didn't really like do things. He was just in charge, if that makes sense. Like, Cinder goes around and like murders people. And like,
Roman never seemed to be in that much power. I agree.
yeah, like Roman, like Roman's just like a gang dude. Like, he's just like,
Initially, you thought he was like just like a local gang leader, and then it turns out he's like directly under Cinder, so he's a little
yeah.
more important than you think. But yeah,
But like, I mean, but the thing is, like, in the world of RWBY, like he like, I don't know, like I feel like they're trying to make him come across as like this major like kingpin, but like he really doesn't come off that way because we literally see zero crime. Like, everything they do is like very separate from like how the show operates. So like
it's been a while since we've seen him doing things like at the very least.
And like I just don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
we have to break him out.
So let us know what you think about any of these topics. You can comment on YouTube, comment on our website, overlyanimated.com, and send us asks on Tumblr. You can find all of that under the contact section of overlyanimated.com. What do you think is going to happen? We'll be back in 2 weeks to discuss chapter 10 or whatever. I don't think they're actually called chapters, but yeah, the next RWBY episode, World of Remnant, next week, and then the 3-part finale, question mark? I don't know. So we'll see.
World of Remnants.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt that they will present us with new info, but that's okay. And yeah, so we'll see. Thanks for listening. Definitely comment. I want to know what you guys think. Some interesting theories and stuff. I'm Dylan Hysen, that's Delaney Stovall, overlyanimated.com, like I said, and you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our current patrons, Shana, Mitch, Cordell, Beatrice, Nate, Andy, Jamie, and Rachel, aka Hey Enough Fever, Mitch, Cordell, University, Beatrix, Strange, Buzz Like Your Mailman, and Rachel Rose. Yeah. Last thoughts, Delaney, for 2 weeks on RWBY.
Blake is not dying. I'm just in denial. Like this is like my mom about snow. I'm just in denial. It's not happening.
I'm calling it now. The end of episode 11, February 6th. Blake will be dead.
So I just am in denial. Literally, if we podcast and it happens, I'll just be like, no, 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 no. Like you'll have to just podcast by yourself because I'll be so mad.
I anticipate that's what would happen. I don't know. I had some pretty good logic here. We'll see. We'll see.
I'm in heavy denial.
It'll be good. Okay.
Not
Let us know what you think. Thanks for listening, guys. We will see you in 2 weeks for more RWBY. Bye.
Bye.